So, hello everyone and welcome. I'm Sharon Burch, and I'm the founder of the Liberated Nurse Business Academy. I'm so glad you could join me today. I will be admitting people here as they come in. And so, if you see me look away for a moment, that's why. So, I want to start by sharing something that happened to one of the nurses in my Liberated Nurse Business Incubator program just recently. She had been trying for months to promote her wellness coaching business, and she was posting, reaching out, showing up, doing all the things to be visible. But in her words, it just was going nowhere. Then she worked through a process of getting specific about who she serves and what they're experiencing. She really dialed in her message. And within a short time, she began getting very different results. And I'm going to tell you exactly what happened a little later. Um, but that's the focus of our time together today, is to help you see how you can effectively change your message so that it really lands with the people that you want to serve. And I'm also at the end of the workshop, I'm going to tell you about a program where I help nurses do what this nurse did. But first, I'm going to, focus on helping you today. So you're here because you have a real, something real to help people with. You might be just starting your business or thinking about starting your business, and you want to start right so that you don't get stuck or spin your wheels or waste money before you actually are building momentum. Or you might be in another group where you've already started, but something isn't working, even though you're putting yourself out there. And even though people are nodding and agreeing with you that it's a great idea or it's really needed, you're still not getting consistent results in attracting clients. So, both of these scenarios, you're here to learn about how to turn your ideas and experience into a business, attract the right people, and enroll them consistently into your programs and services. And so you can see on the screen here, I'm using symbols of seeds to represent the group that is preparing to start their business, and a seedling to represent the group that's already started, but you're not getting consistent results yet. So, did you know that businesses have developmental stages? They do, just like humans. And I've represented the first four stages here with plants, and I call the first stage stage zero or prepare. And then stage one is prove, stage two is grow, stage three is scale. In this workshop, we're going to be talking about skills needed in stage one, prove. If you feel like you've already surpassed the skills that I'm talking about today in today's workshop, um, and you don't want to stick around, I understand. I know some of you who answered the assessment before when you're in registered are already beyond stage one. But if you want to stick around, you may get a few tips as well that could help you. Sometimes the little nuances in the basics can actually serve you even in the advanced stages. Okay, so in stage one, the proof stage, this is a representation of the road or the path to building a sustainable business. And the sequence is first start with find your people, then engage them, then offer help they want, and then enroll them consistently. So each of those steps, I should call them steps, they're not stages. They're steps within the proof stage. Each of those steps builds on the one before it. Today we're going to focus on step two, the engage them step. Because engaging your people starts with messaging that's relevant to your people, because they have to be able to recognize themselves in your message so that they can respond with interest and inquiry. So, whether you're thinking about starting or you've already started and you're trying to make your business a go, the engage them step is where most nurses get stuck first. Now, before going any farther, I want to define what I mean by messaging so that, we're all talking the same language here or thinking in the same language. Your message is the language you use to describe your work in a way that the specific person you want to help recognizes as being about them. When your message lands, the person reading or hearing it thinks, that's exactly what I'm dealing with. I want to know more. And that's what we're working toward today. So if you get nothing else from this hour, get my number one tip for stage one entrepreneurs. And that is you need to be in as many conversations as possible with the people you want to help. And you need to start as early as possible, even before you're setting up your business, because those conversations are what will give you the information and the details that you need to really begin your business in a strong way. Now, before this workshop, in an email that I sent to you, I asked you to think about the last time you tried to explain your work to somebody who already didn't know you. And if you didn't get that email, don't worry. You're going to have a chance to think about this right now. So, if you recall the last time you tried to explain what you do to someone who didn't already know or know you, what was it that you said and how did the person respond? So, let's go ahead and start. Give yourself a moment to think about that and then type in the chat what you remember about what you said in that moment. Okay, and don't polish it. Don't write what you wish you said. We want to work with reality as a starting point and build from there. Okay, so just type what actually came out of your mouth and also how the person responded. And I'm going to look at the chat here and see what you said. If you don't have a business yet, I understand if you can't answer this question. That's okay. But I'm sure out of the people that are here, there'll be some that have said something here. Okay. I'm glad you're all introducing yourselves and telling where you're from, and that's great. Okay, great. Lori says, I help people find the story under the symptom. Nice. Who else can tell us what you do, what your business does? I help you manage your back pain with aromaflexology and custom aromatherapy. Thank you, Grace. And that's great. And Doris says, I help nurses and healthcare professionals recognize, prevent, and recover from burnout. Okay, very nice. Okay, feel free to put more there in the chat as we go if you'd like to. And if you didn't feel like sharing it publicly, that's okay. I hope you wrote down your answer to this question. So please do write it down because near the end of the workshop, I'm going to ask you to look back at it and write a revised version based on what you've learned in the workshop today, and we'll see what shifted. Okay? So if you don't know me, I'm Sharon Burch. I've been a nurse since 1974 and a nurse entrepreneur since 1984. And what started as a massage therapy practice for me alongside my full-time nursing job grew into co-owning a group practice inside a medical center. And then in 1998, I launched an online continuing education company for CE courses for nurses and for massage therapists. And I did that with no roadmap or community of peers and no proof it was even possible for a nurse. Um, I just really believed it was possible, and I went for it. So then for 10 years, my business thrived and was doing very, very well with just simple marketing methods. Then in 2009, two market forces outside of my control hit at once, and my revenue fell pretty much overnight by 90%. And no matter what I did, nothing was working that I knew what to do, how to do. Nothing, I could find no way to improve things. I knew I had real value to offer my audience, but I didn't have a roadmap for creating a message that would land with the people I wanted to serve. Just outside of my little past experience, I didn't really, I had been lucky to tell you the truth, and I didn't know what to do in this new scenario. So I spent the next several years finding my way at a significant cost, both in energy and time and money. But I stuck with it. And what I learned through that experience is what I'm going to help you with today. So let me ask you something. If you needed a cardiac surgery, would you want a general surgeon or a specialist? Well, of course, you'd want the specialist. Not because general surgeons aren't skilled or trustworthy, but because when you're the patient, you want the person who knows your condition specifically. You want to know they've seen this before, they understand what you're dealing with, and they know what to do about it, right? So your ideal client feels the same way. They're not searching for generic health and wellness coaching or stress and burnout prevention. They'll scroll past those descriptions because nothing in those words specifically conveys to them, oh, this is for me. Here's the thing about nursing education. It trains us to be generalists, to assess broadly and think systemically and care for the whole person. That training is genuinely valuable, of course. But in a business context, a message that tries to speak to everyone actually winds up engaging no one. So your business mind needs to think like a specialist. And that starts with diagnosing what's actually happening when your messages fall flat. When your language and your prospective client's language doesn't meet, then the people who need you don't see themselves in what you say. And that's actually a translation problem. Okay, it's not a writing problem or a confidence problem. It's a gap between how you were trained to think and what your client needs to hear in order to recognize themselves in your message. When we describe what we do, we naturally use the language of our training. That includes our methods, our credentials, our framework, things like that. let's look at these examples on the screen. These are things I've heard from many nurse entrepreneurs. You can read those. I'll have a sip of water. Now, none of these things are wrong. They're they're all true. But the thing is, none of it is what your ideal client is saying to themselves at night when they can't sleep and they finally type something into the search bar. They're just not thinking in your language. They're thinking in the language of their life and their specific situation. They're thinking about the thing they've tried that didn't work. And they're thinking about what they want to feel like on the other side of solving their problem. So when we look at our messaging in stage 0 and 1, most nurses will find the same thing. And that is that the message is centered on them and their methods rather than on the person they're trying to reach and what they're feeling or experiencing. So I'm going to repeat that because it's so important. When we start out, our messages are usually centered on what we do rather than on what the person is struggling with and what they want instead of their problem. So we all start that way, and there's no shame in it. Just the important thing is to be able to see it, because once you see it, then you can start to improve and change it. Okay, now look at the 3 questions on your screen. Which one points to the biggest gap in your message? So think about what you do and how you say what you do, and then read the questions on the screen and type in the chat which one do you think is the biggest gap in your current message? Okay, we have a 2. What else? Who else can respond? 3. Okay, 3. All right, I'll go on. I'll move ahead because it might be that the rest of you are still preparing your message. Thank you to those of you who've responded. Okay, now I want to invite you to get out of your own head and into the experience of one specific person. And that's what this next exercise is for. Bring just one person to mind, a real person, not an imaginary person. Ideally, if you have a client you've worked with who you enjoyed working with them and they got a result, bring that person to mind. Okay. If you don't have a person like that, then you can use yourself if you've solved a similar problem to the one that you want to help people solve in your business. So you just, in that case, just think about yourself. Or you might, if you don't have those two, you might have observed someone in another setting who was benefiting from similar work. Or you might even have observed in your training a story that your instructor shared about someone who benefited from the work. Okay, you can see how we want to start with the closest one to you, but for this exercise, you can go out further if you need to think of someone who benefited from this type of work that you want to do. And on the screen is just a little example of, what I'm talking about. Just a few details about the person. Okay, have you got it? All right, now we're going to go to the next step. Thinking about that person, what was that person thinking and feeling when they reached out for help? Okay, or it could be, the day before or right before. Focus on, and you might not know this 100%, but if it's somebody that you've observed and listened to, you probably have a sense of what it was they were thinking and feeling when they reached out for help. So if you could jot that down in the chat would be great because then everybody that's here can benefit. And the second part of the challenge is to also think what did they want instead of what they were experiencing? You know, if they, let's say, real simple examples, if they were in pain, and it was preventing them from attending some big event they wanted to go to, or preventing them from work, let's say, what did they want to experience instead? What did they want to feel? What did they want to be able to do? Okay. So I'm going to give you sufficient time to actually write this down. And even those of you who are preparing it to be in a business, this question is just as important for you to answer. Okay. And if you don't know anybody, uh, or haven't observed someone that has the problem that you want to help, that shows you clearly that you need to be following my number one tip, which was get out and get into conversations with as many of these people as possible and ask these questions, what they're thinking and feeling, and what do they want to experience instead. Okay. This is a core activity to do and a core skill to develop. I'm going to look at the chat and see what's here. Okay, Grace says she was experiencing chronic back pain that interfered with all areas of her life. Okay, good, Grace. And Doris says lonely and exhausted, wanted to experience community and have more energy. Okay, very good. And here's another one. Good. Lori says daily pain from head pressure that was not resolved by medicine and other modalities. Low energy and feeling stuck. Wants to be pain-free and able to move forward. Great. Those are really important details. And for those of you who haven't posted yet, can you see how much detail is there? Okay, here's another one from Kristen. Isolation is the number one feeling. Isolation. Okay. Gratefully, we are reaching many survivors and their families, but I have trouble expressing need to donors who can support our initiatives. Okay, very good. And Kristen earlier, I didn't read it, but for the recording and those who will watch that, I'm going to explain what Kristen's business is about. Um, Kristen's business is a nonprofit organization for young adults with acquired brain injury. They host events, both virtual and in person, as well as community and professional education and advocacy at the state and federal level that support brain injury survivors to get back out to their communities. So she's saying isolation is the number one feeling. Very good to bring out the feeling. Okay, so that's great. Thank you to those of you who have shared. It's for all of you. Could you hear when I read those descriptions? Could you hear and feel how that extra information and detail could help a message land with the audience? If you're talking about, let's say, how isolated they feel compared to just talking about we support um, young adults who have brain injury. Okay. So if you say how isolated they are feeling and start talking about that isolation, what's going to happen? They're going to recognize themselves in your message, aren't they? Okay. So what I want you to notice about what just happened is that you're looking for where the language feels true, like rings true and resonates with the person that you're speaking to. And I just point out that for a nonprofit, there's two people that she's speaking to. She's speaking to the people that she wants to serve, the young adults with the brain injury, but she'll be also speaking to the donors as a second group. And she'll want to know what they're thinking and feeling right before they reach out and donate, or what they're looking for, what they want to feel on the other side of donating. So, in both cases are in a nonprofit, you have at least two audiences. And so you want to work your messages for each audience that you have. It needs to be specific work for each audience. Okay, so now imagine being able to get create this language on your own any any time in any conversation, or any time that you're sitting down to write or to speak about your work. And imagine doing it because not because you found the right words once in a workshop, but because you've actually developed the skill of finding them. And like any skill, message development comes through practice with a structured process to follow when you're starting out. Because when messages are broad, you just simply get agreement or encouragement, or cheerleading, like, that's a great idea, that kind of thing. But when your messages are relevant to the specific problems your people are experiencing and the specific changes they're hoping for, then they'll recognize themselves in your messages and they'll lean in and listen. And that's the first big thing you want. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. When your messages are specific about your audience's problems and challenges and what they want instead, they're going to recognize themselves, lean in, and listen. And that's what causes people to engage with you, like ask questions or ask how they can work with you. Contrary to what many conventional marketing approaches tell you, being chosen is not about being louder or more persuasive. It's about this thing of being recognized as offering a clear and trustable solution by the people who are looking for it. And you don't need to persuade people to buy from you if they're already looking for what you have. You just need to make sure that your message connects with them specifically enough that they can see themselves receiving what you're offering. So now let's look at an example of this. Read these two messages on your screen. Which of these audience descriptions is easier to respond to or ask a question about? And which one brings an actual person to mind? Put it in the chat. Okay. Okay, great. So everyone's saying the second one or the yellow one. Yeah, it's clearly. And you see, so it's about this is the same nurse talking about the same audience. But so I can tell you, Vanita Vaughn did the evolution work on this message. She came into my incubator program describing her audience as women caregivers. And that sounds pretty specific at the surface level, doesn't it? But after working through the steps in the course, she arrived at the second message. Now, the first message just wasn't as specific as it needed to be to get someone to stop scrolling. If they saw that, they would generally just scroll by. But if a woman is caring for aging family members and trying to decide between keeping the peace and speaking up for their needs, I mean, if she sees that sentence, she's going to stop and say, wow, that's me. and she's going to more than likely want to know more. So I think that's a really lovely example of what we can do with our messaging. And I don't want you to feel pressure that you have to go from the first example to the second example all in one leap. It doesn't usually happen that way. It usually happens a little tweak or a little refinement, one after another, until you get it to this level. And so it's an organic process. You can't even put it in AI and get this kind of quality message because AI doesn't know your audience at the depth of a specialist that you are. You are a specialist in whatever it is that you're wanting to use and whatever audience you're wanting to help. And you'll even become more of a specialist as you go deeper into helping these specific people with their specific problems. So trust yourself, take the steps that I'm going to teach in the rest of this workshop and apply them out loud in real conversations with people. And listen to the way it lands with the person, listen to how it feels inside yourself when you're sharing the message, and then keep refining and refining and refining it so that it gets so clear that it rings like a bell when you say it. Okay, we have somebody in the chat here. Let me say, okay, that was just a comment about the last. Very good. So let's continue because I want to show you some more examples of what can happen when nurses get their messaging right. So Taylor is a nurse coach and she's a liver transplant recipient. At first, she wasn't sure who she wanted to support most with her coaching. Was it transplant recipients or was it the nurses in the transplant team? She could see there were needs in both of those groups that she could help. And so her message shifted depending on who she was talking to. And she really didn't want to nail it down to just one or the other. She wanted to, be putting it out there and seeing who showed interest. And that's an okay place to start with. Okay. In fact, it's important if you have feeling a calling to both groups. Go ahead and put your message out to both for a while. Because what you're going to see over time is one group will start being more and more interested, and the other one just isn't going to go anywhere. So, what she was experiencing when she was trying to cover both groups is that people showed interest, but they weren't becoming clients. She was doing all the right things to get visibility, like posting in social media and talking to people directly, but it was just going nowhere. So I wonder if any of you are like in a place where Taylor was. When someone asks about your work, instead of answering clearly, do you find yourself explaining, qualifying, or maybe even changing your focus depending on who you're talking to? Would you go ahead and type that in the chat if you have a response about that? And I want you to know that it's not anything, nothing's wrong with you for doing that. Um, you're you're just at the beginning, you're testing, you're not sure which way you're going to go yet because and you haven't chosen that one clear audience. So as you're doing these tests and talking to people, do it with that goal in mind that you're looking for your audience that you're going to drop into deeply. It's better for your business to go deep, focus deep, than to go wide. And that was a revelation to me when I heard it and really got the importance of it. So I had been trying to go wide before. And it can work if you're the first person in your niche, but when you start to get competition, a wide approach won't work. You really need to go deep and be a specialist. Okay, so thank you for sharing about in the chat. I see several people do it. And I'm going to let you know what happened for Taylor when she followed the path that I teach about getting specific about who she wants to help and the immediate problem that they care about. Not a problem down the road, 6 months, but an immediate problem that they want to take action on or they want to solve right away. So when Taylor took those steps, her conversations started feeling a lot easier. Her follow-up conversations made sense, and people started saying yes to her invitations. So 3 weeks ago, Taylor posted a short reel, and I want you to hear her telling me about what happened.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to happen quickly because I just posted another video the other day and it has over 48,000 views now.
Wow.
I went to bed Wednesday night and I think it had 250. And I woke up the next day and it said 48,000 views. And I was like, this is not real life. I literally like double and triple checked it. I was like, this can't be right. I was just like, holy crap.
Right. Taylor, that was amazing. Great way to go. I'm really proud of her. And I want you to know that all of you can do this. What changed for Taylor wasn't a miracle, and it also wasn't just hard work trying to push a boulder up a hill, which is what our business can feel like sometimes. It was the sequence she learned and worked through to dial in her message. And in that conversation, Taylor told me, now it's so effortless for me to do this, and people are reaching out every time. So that's what happens when your message reaches people it was written for. Here's another example from Lori Woodford. She's a nurse coach whose practice is full. She guides women through the process of healthy weight loss and nourishing their gut biome. And she told me, I didn't realize how generic my message was in the beginning. Now I don't feel like I'm working at telling people what I do. It's a natural conversation, and I don't even need notes. So that naturalness that Lori described didn't come from trying harder. It came from getting specific about who she helps, what they're experiencing, and what they want instead. So I'm going to revisit this slide that you saw earlier because I read the responses that you all had to the self-assessment that you did when you registered for the workshop. And thank you for doing that. I hope it was helpful for you. But when I read them, I noticed that many of you are wondering what it takes to build a successful stage one business. And you might not have said stage one, but the thing is, you have to build a stage one business before you can have a stage two business. So in stage one, here's the map. It's just what I showed you before. First, you identify who you want to serve. That's the specific population whose situation you understand from their viewpoint and whose language you can speak. And I call that finding your people. Then you learn to engage their interest with your messaging so that they ask for more information or ask about the next steps to work with you. Then you create, test, and prove your offer so that you know it helps people, it helps your people get what they genuinely want, and so that you have case studies and testimonies to share with others. Then you learn what it takes to enroll them consistently without pressure or guesswork. Here's a couple more examples of nurses who've done this. Lauren Tanner was a burned out travel nurse who loved working with herbs and had worked with them for her own health and her family's health for many years. And so she turned her love of herbalism into a profitable business, doing herbal education and selling herbal products. Maya Hofstetter is a nurse who lives in Denmark, and she refined her message and launched a podcast for people who are living with chronic pain. And now she's attracting pain clients internationally. So these are different nurses with different types of businesses and different audiences, but they all use the same starting point, which is getting clear on who they serve and what those people are looking for. then crafting their message to be so relevant to their audience that their audience leans in and asks questions and engages with the nurse business owner. So if you're sitting here thinking about all this, you may have some questions in the back of your mind too, like, "Shoo, is this is what I want to build actually real? Will clients really keep coming? Can this actually support me financially?" And underneath all of that, you also might be thinking, "Who am I to do this?" Well, if you have any of those questions, you're not alone, because every nurse that I've worked with has carried at least one of those questions, and most have carried all four, including myself in the beginning. So the thing is that the nurses you've heard about that have successful businesses, they they're not any different than you are. They just develop their clarity and their confidence by going specific, going deep, working with a structure that guided them through all their different decision points, and having group support. And here's something important I want you to take away with today. Client enrollment is a skill. And like any skill, it develops by following a sequence of steps where each step informs the next. And what I mean by that is you can write a message that lands with your people only after you've done the work of identifying specifically who your work is for. You can create an offer that that your people buy only after you've engaged enough of them to know what they're looking for. And you can consistently enroll clients only after your offer is grounded in real evidence of what works. The gaps between your language, your client's thinking, and your message that's falling flat are real. It's not just that you feel nervous. There's really gaps there, more than likely. So the thing is that nurses who try to fix their messaging without closing those gaps will keep spinning their wheels and wondering why nothing changes. The thing is, they have a problem of not knowing what steps to take and in what order. But the good news is you've learned many, many step-by-step processes in your nursing career. And with the right education, you can certainly learn this one too. Now, I want to come back to something. At the beginning of this workshop, I ask you to type in a sentence about what your business does. And now I invite you to look back at what you wrote. Okay? So pull that up. And based on what you've heard in the last hour, I'd like you to type a revised version in the chat. It doesn't have to be perfect. And don't aim for perfection. That'll just block you. Just try to do a small revision that moves your message a little closer toward saying what your client's experiencing. Okay. What are they actually feeling? What are they looking for? What do they want to feel beyond their challenge? Any of those things that I've been repeating through this hour, see if you can nudge your message a little bit more toward that. And put it, if you would, put it in the chat and I'll read them. So Lori said a little earlier that she gets her clients from referrals and she thinks they are better at sharing specific outcomes than I am. So so yes, they probably are. You know, it's very hard for us to share about ourselves or to promote ourselves. And I think I think that's a good thing in general. I think that's a normal, healthy thing to be have a little humility and have it be feel a little hard to promote ourselves. It's certainly much easier to promote someone else that we believe in. And and I think that's good. But in business, you will need to be able to promote yourself and find it within yourself, the reasons why that's important so that people know you're there. Um, and Lori, yes, when your clients and referrals are talking about the outcomes, you're so lucky that they are because you can listen to those. You can also even go back and ask them questions to get more specifics about what they were hoping for on the other side of solving their problem. So very good. So Lori's got her newly revised message here now. I help people with chronic symptoms or stressors that do not respond to traditional therapies, release their pain and step back into their lives more fully. Okay, Lori, that's a good step in the right direction. And Doris says, I create community for nurses experiencing burnout and help them have sustained recovery from chronic exhaustion and overwhelm. Nice. Good. I can feel that. I can feel both of those two messages more clearly. Now, Kristen has just posted hers. GOTABI, that's the name of her business, is a nonprofit organization for young adults with acquired brain injury who are often suffering severe isolation. Great, you added that right in there at the beginning. We host events, both virtual and in person, to bring survivors and their families together. We provide community and professional education and so on. Okay, very good. So, good job, everybody, at moving it one step forward. And I hope that you'll take what you've heard in this workshop and continue to develop your message. It's an iteration process. And oh, here's one more from Grace. I help people looking for non-pharmacological options to managing chronic pain. Okay, that is Grace. That's telling what they're looking for. Um, you, I know you and I know your business a little bit, so I can just give you a little more personal guidance on that one. I encourage you to have more about your person that you want to help in there. Like, what are they feeling? What are they feeling with their chronic pain? And why is it they want non-pharmacological options? Just more detail in there, I think would help you. So good job, everybody. Um, so this is an example of the way that you can develop your messages step by step. I hope that you did get some good value from this. And I'll be sending out the recording here in about an hour or so after the workshop. So if you want to listen again, of course you can. And feel free to share it with other nurses as well if you think it would help someone you know. And oh, there's one more message I want to read. Dominique says, I guide organizations seeking to elevate their nursing practice and culture to obtain nursing excellence designations. Okay, very nice. Dominique, that is clear about what you do. Now, I would like to encourage you to find ways to include in there what your audience, that would be the organizations that think of somebody specific in the organization that would be making that decision about elevating nurses. Think about that person, think about what they're feeling and what they want, and include that in your message so that when they hear your message, it will ring true. So they know specifically, I want that. Okay. Or I want to ask questions about that. All right. Very good. So, this actually ends the educational part of my presentation. Um, Next, I'm going to tell you about my business incubator program for nurses. And if you want to put questions in the chat about what we just covered, feel free to, and I will reach back out to you. I have your email addresses and I will answer your questions there. Or if you get home and you think later, and I have questions about what I heard, feel free to email me at sharon@liberatednurse.com and I'll get back to you. So now, if you're not interested in hearing about the Liberated Nurse Business Incubator Program, you can feel free to leave. It it won't hurt my feelings. But if you're kind of curious, then stay on and I'll spend a few more minutes talking about this. So the Liberated Nurse Business Incubator is the only step-by-step business development program designed for nurses, designed by nurses, with 50 CE contact hours that are accepted for RN license renewal in all 50 states, accepted by the American Holistic Nurses Association, endorsed by the American Holistic Nurses Association and the National Nurses in Business Association, and recognized by ANCC and magnet hospitals. This is not a conventional business course with nursing examples pasted in. It's built from the ground up around how nurses think, what nurses value, and what nurses actually need to build a sustainable business, one that nourishes your life and the lives of those you serve. If you're at stage 0 and you haven't started your business yet, the incubator is where you receive help to start well. You can build on a foundation that actually lasts instead of piecing things together and hoping something sticks. If you're at stage 2, where you've started, but you're not getting consistent results, I said stage 1. I'm sorry. I said stage 2 and I meant stage 1. I'm not used to talking continuously like this for so long. Let me start over. If you're at stage 1, you've started, but you're not getting consistent results. You've likely already taken courses that didn't pan out for you or really move the needle forward. The incubator is where you stop guessing and start building proof that your business works. Enrollment is limited to 8 nurses per coaching group because that size allows for truly personal coaching where I get to know you, your business, and your audience, and I can guide you through the places where you get stuck. The incubator moves through 4 8-week courses that follow the prove or stage 1 roadmap with a 1-month integration break between each course. So the whole program lasts a total of 11 months. I'm going to let you read the screen for a moment and get a sip of water because you can see here each course is listed with what we do in each course and the number of CE contact hours. And I'll just say, in addition, I'll just say that the incubator is set up to help you build each skill on the one before it. And at each skill set, which is each course, you have opportunities to apply what you're learning, where you're really applying this in your business as you go. Not, it's not like the kind of education where you amass a whole bunch of knowledge and then you go out at the end of the program and apply it. No, that's not what we do at all. Every week, there's a lesson of something to read or watch a video, and then the invitation to go out to apply that directly in your business. So every week, you're taking action in your business and growing your skills, and then getting support and in the group coaching. at the same time. So let me go over what the incubator contains. It's a bundle of those four self-paced courses that you just saw, and you work through those at your own schedule. And then there's weekly coaching from me, a nurse business expert who has built both for-profit and nonprofit businesses and who's learned the difference between what sounds good and what actually works. It also includes a warm, supportive peer community of nurses who are building their businesses alongside you, who are in the same stage of development as you are, and lifetime access to all the learning materials. By the end of the 11-month incubator, you will have a completed lead magnet that speaks directly to the struggles and interests of the people you want to serve. You'll have a nurturing sequence of messages that generate measurable inquiries from the people who are ready to take the next step with you. You'll have a pilot tested program or service with paying clients and documented results to build on. And you'll have a personalized marketing and sales system that generates a net profit of $3,000 or more per month without endless content creation or social posting. And also, this is not on the slide, you'll be at the end of stage one and have a plan for how to grow your business from there. So, look at this slide. Which path do you want to take to success? The ladder on the left or the one on the right? Well, the ladder on the right is what the Liberated Nurse Business Incubator path looks like. One doable step at a time with a compassionate structure to support you. Some of you might know Teresa Walding. She co-owns the nurse coach training program called Advancing Nurse Coaching. And for about 2 years, Teresa was one of the coaches in my incubator program. There she saw, and I'll quote her, by following the incubator process, the shift from I want to be successful to I am successful becomes not just possible, but inevitable. And she recently told me that she wished she had known about the incubator when she started her business 7 years ago. Of course, the incubator didn't exist then, but anyway, that's what she said. Because it would have saved her so much time, energy, and money that she spent learning things her business was not ready for yet. And that's a problem in looking for business education because the majority of it is made for business owners, businesses that are in developmental stages 2 and 3. There are very few business education programs that are made for stages 0 and 1. I'm going to let you read these two quotes while I have another sip of water. Okay, so besides the self-paced courses, the 8-person coaching group, and the peer support, when you enroll in the incubator, you'll also get these bonuses. One, the Business Foundations course. And this course helps you assess your readiness, clarify your starting point, and start building the foundation your business needs. And it's helpful whether you're just beginning or whether you've already started, but you feel like there might be some gaps or steps that you've missed. Uh, both groups can benefit from this foundations course. The second bonus is 7 Secrets to Taming Your Inner Saboteurs. This is a 1-hour workshop video and handouts to help you recognize and work with the doubts and the fears and the inner sabotage, inner resistance that gets in the way of building a business. Bonus 3 is Protect Your RN License. It's a 76-minute workshop video and handouts covering the professional guidelines, legal boundaries, and competencies that every nurse entrepreneur needs to know. When you enroll in the incubator, you get these bonuses and you get immediate access to them so you can start working start learning from them even before the group coaching starts. And the group coaching won't start for at least a couple of weeks after today. I'll get into that in a minute because now there's three more bonuses. There's the pricing toolkit for nurse entrepreneurs. There's the AI prompts package, and there's also a fast action bonus. And that last one is only for nurses who enroll by midnight Friday, this Friday. That's tomorrow. I'm going to pause for a moment and let you read these, but they're also on the sales page when you go to it when you're thinking about enrolling and you want to see all the details. They're on our website page, and I'll give you that QR code in just a minute here. So you're probably wondering about the investment. It's one payment of $2,000 or 11 monthly payments of $220. And if you're a member of AHNA or NNBA, you receive a $150 discount. You can get your discount code just by emailing support@liberatednurse.com. And that information is also on the sales page that I will give you in just a moment. Now, I want you to know that the incubator starts only twice per year, uh, in January and July. And when I say it starts, what I mean is the group coaching component. Because remember, the learning content is available for you to work with anytime. Once you enroll, you can enroll anytime and get started on the learning content. But the group coaching support only starts in January and July. Um, and that group coaching will start sometime at the week after the 4th of July for this cohort. And I can't tell you exactly when right now because the deal is that I will poll the 8 participants in the coaching group and I will ask when they can meet. And we will together find the specific day of the week and the time that works the best for everyone. Now, also, if someone can't make it sometime live to a group coaching call, they're always recorded, and you can always see them if you missed a call, or even see them again if you want to remind yourself what you experienced in the call. So I've done my best to do everything that I can, and I've really listened to the feedback of the nurses that have gone through the incubator so that I've crafted something that will really support you. I also give a guarantee. If you implement what I show you, you will enroll your first or next paid client within the first 30 days. And if you don't, then you can receive a full refund upon written request. So I encourage you to make a clear yes or no decision about this. Waiting does rarely creates clarity. It's usually taking a step and taking action and iterating that actually brings you clarity and confidence and develops your skills. And one of my incubator students recently said that spending time and energy going in the wrong directions set her wellness retreat center back by months. Her momentum improved significantly after we received the clear structure and guidance from the incubator. So here's the QR code. If you'd like to, if you're ready to enroll, or even if you're just ready to look at the details again, those are on this page. Go to the QR code in the brown box. Or if you have questions, just stick around a little bit longer because I'm here to answer your questions about the incubator. And if you need to go, you can also grab this QR code in the light colored box and make an appointment with me to have a one-on-one conversation. And that is not a it's not a pressure-filled sales conversation at all. It's just you and I talking and and exploring whether this is the right time for you and the right program for you. Okay, so let me look at the chat, or let me see. I'll just look at the pictures of all of you on the screen and see if anyone would like to have a question. Just unmute yourself and ask away. Or you can type it in the chat if you don't feel like talking. That's fine too. While you're thinking about that, I can tell you that the incubator works for all different types of businesses, whether it's coaching, consulting, educating, providing the healing arts services, selling products, any type of business model. They all need the same developmental steps and in the same order. And what then they also need different slight modifications according to your own personal strengths and your interests, your limitations, and so on. And that's what you get in the group coaching. Okay. The group coaching is where you really get the guidance to make this learning content fit for you and work for you. And you might sometimes you might be thinking about the time commitment. So in course one, the time commitment is roughly 3 to 4 hours per week. And part of that is applying it to your business. But frankly, in the first course, it's mostly learning and discussing and thinking. But then courses 2 through 4, you're really taking what you learn in the lessons and doing the application work in your business. And the estimated time frame is about 4 to 6 hours per week in those courses. And remember, you have a 1 month integration break between each course. So if you've gotten behind a little bit, you can catch up. Or if you have other things you need to shift your focus to in your life, you have a month there, a break from the courses. And we find that that really works well. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude the workshop. And before you go, I want to leave you with this. You came here today because something in your message isn't landing, or because you wanted to make sure it lands from the start. And what you've seen in this hour is that the gap is a translation gap and also a sequencing problem. And those problems have solutions. The Liberated Nurse Business Incubator is designed to guide you along a clear developmental path with structured education and support to help you find your people. It gives you the tools to engage your people with relevant messages and create, test, and prove your offer. And then it shows you effective marketing and sales actions to take so you begin enrolling clients consistently. If what I've shared today aligns with what you want, then now is the time to choose your next step. Thank you for being here today. What you're building matters to you and to the people who need the help you can give them. Thank you.